Just recently I put up a video breaking down the true cost of my Model Y over 2 years, along with my experience with that car over the past 2 years. The Model Y is an incredible car and I've loved it, but the Model 3 remains the cheapest vehicle Tesla sells, which entices many. A little over a year ago now, I purchased the cheapest Standard Range Plus Model 3 and it has been great. Electric cars in general are still pricier than other vehicles, and while the cost of ownership can often be far cheaper than a gas vehicle, you still tend to pay a premium with a Tesla. However, this premium is often less than people expect, especially when going for a standard range Model 3. Today I'm going to break down the true cost of ownership for my Tesla Model 3 after 1 year, 13 months to be exact, and 8,663 miles. For this video as well, I'm actually going to format it exactly like I did my Model Y true cost video. So if you've seen both, you'll hear some or a lot of repeated information, but everything in regards to efficiency, pricing, and specific to the Model 3 will absolutely be updated and specific to the standard range Model 3, which costs $16,000 less than a base Model Y today. I'll break down the cash price with taxes and fees, how that has changed today, what my charging cost has been, insurance, and more, so let's get into it. This is the most up-to-date true cost video I've made for the Model 3, and we'll be adding a few extra categories to be sure we're extra accurate here. Of course, everything I calculate will be an estimate to a certain degree. I haven't tracked every cent that I've put into this car, and it's tough to be 100% accurate, but we've gone through diligently to break down everything, especially charging. The Model 3 I purchased was what they now call rear-wheel drive, in midnight silver metallic with standard wheels and no FSD. At the time of purchase, the base price of the Model 3 before upgrades was around $9,000 cheaper than it is today. So that will be a big difference that I'll break down, but charging costs, maintenance, and insurance should be about the same for a 2022 Model 3. On my order agreement, my Model 3 was $35,000, $2,990 for the Standard Range Plus upgrade, $1,000 for the Midnight Silver Metallic paint, and $1,200 for the destination fee. Then there was the $100 order fee. That came out to $40,290 before taxes. Then taxes added $4,129.73. There was a $30 Tesla EV registration fee and $538 in registration and license fees. That brought my out-the-door cash price to $44,987.73. At the time, this car qualified for a $1,500 California point of sale rebate, so that came off of that amount on the order form. Today, that credit is $750, and there are no other credits you can qualify for in California as far as I know. Your particular city or power company may have a rebate though, so be sure to check into that. I financed that cash price after paying my down payment, so I'll be paying interest on top of that. But again, since interest rates and the overall price have changed so much in the past year, I'll just stick with the cash price. Buying a Model 3 today is unfortunately significantly more expensive up front. Here's my original Model 3 order agreement. Since ordering here though, that initial price has increased another $9,000. That means that the total for these first lines will show $46,990, followed by any upgrades you purchase, the $1,200 destination and document fee, and the now $250 order fee, which you pay when placing your order today. One improvement here, at least, is that the Midnight Silver Metallic paint that I paid $1,000 for is now an included color at no extra cost, so you can get white or Midnight Silver for the same base price. One upgrade you may need to buy to charge at home if you order today as well is the $200 mobile connector or $400 wall connector that Tesla now includes neither of for new orders. For a base standard range Model 3 today, that means a grand total of $48,440 before taxes or fees are added or rebates are subtracted. Judging based off my purchase, you'll find yourself nearing $55,000 to $60,000 out the door realistically. Now let's talk about the biggest question people have with electric cars, charging. Gas prices have been skyrocketing in the US, driving many to look for electric offerings because day-to-day costs can be significantly less. It's definitely the best part of driving electric in my experience. I never have to fill up with gas, and there are two main ways to charge your Tesla. Charging from home is the easiest, most convenient, and cheapest. Then for a road trip or a longer drive, or if you can't charge at home, there are Tesla Superchargers. These still typically end up cheaper than gas, but are more expensive than charging up at home. Technically, the cheapest way to charge a Tesla would be to find a free city charger, but I haven't used this on my Model 3 since they typically take a while. For home charging, you'll likely need to install a fast charger in order to fill up as much as you need overnight. You can charge a Model 3 with a standard outlet, but if you deplete the battery significantly, it will take longer than 24 hours to get back up to 80 or 90%. For myself, in my current home, I use an accessory from SplitVolt that will charge off of my dryer outlet. This allowed me to immediately charge my Model 3 in my garage without an official install. I did it myself very quickly and didn't have to route power or anything, or add any additional power to my panel. Depending on your particular situation, this could be a good option, costing around $380 on Amazon, or you could opt to have a NEMA 1450 plug installed by an electrician, or yourself if you know what you're doing. These options could end up cheaper or more expensive depending, and it will vary for everyone. For myself, I bought the SplitVolt, bought the Tesla NEMA 1450 connector for the included mobile connector, and it was good to go. That's likely another cost up front, but as you'll see, it pays for itself quickly. Over 13 months with the Model 3, my wife and I put 8,663 miles on it. Since this car is electric, calculations won't involve miles per gallon, but I'll explain them all clearly. My Model 3's efficiency is showing at 228 watt-hours per mile. Essentially, this means that it took about 0.228 kilowatt hours for me to drive 1 mile in this car over the past 8,600 miles. To quickly visualize that efficiency, if you're familiar with gas miles per gallon, the 2021 Standard Range Model 3 has a fuel economy of 142 miles per gallon electric equivalent. So for those 8,600 miles I drove, I used up about 1,976 kilowatt hours, according to Tesla's on-screen calculation. Our own calculation is only slightly less at 1,975.2 kilowatt hours. All of that came from my home charger or superchargers. In the past, I used that to calculate total energy, but there's another factor here that doesn't apply to gas vehicles and is important: phantom drain. According to Tesla, quote, even when Model 3 is not being driven, its battery discharges very slowly to power the onboard electronics. On average, the battery discharges at a rate of less than 1% per week with energy saving mode on, and less than 3% per week with energy saving mode off. For the Model Y built on the same platform but with the latest updated manual, Tesla says that it can just charge up to 1% per day, and to account for that when going on vacation. For instance, if you park at the airport and plan to be there for 14 days, you should allow 14% to be discharged from the battery, so you want that extra buffer. Now, I like to be conservative, especially since there could be energy loss in the transfer to the vehicle, as well as the loss in phantom drain, which Tesla isn't including in their calculation. So in the 407 days that I've owned that Model 3, I've lost about 0.5 kilowatt hours of energy each day from phantom drain. That means about 203.5 kilowatt hours of my charging actually just disappeared and wasn't used to drive, so we need to add this to my cost. Those calculations bring us to the estimated true total kilowatt hours used for 8,600 miles in 1 year, 2,178.7 kilowatt hours. That will be fairly accurate no matter where you live and increase a bit with more phantom drain in colder or significantly warmer climates. The next calculation is where it will vary more, because some people pay way less in electricity than I do. At my home, my off-peak electricity rates vary between 22 cents and 21 cents per kilowatt hour. The average rate is 21.3 cents per kilowatt hour, which multiplied by the kilowatt hours means if I charged exclusively at home, I would have paid $464.78 to drive the Model 3 8,600 miles. Again, if your electricity rate is significantly cheaper than this, then you'd pay significantly less. If I had used Tesla Superchargers exclusively, living in California, my average rate would have been around 36 cents per kilowatt hour. That would have made the charging cost about $784.32 to drive 8,600 miles in 1 year. In the real world, your charging cost will fall somewhere between these two numbers. For myself, I charge at home about 95% of the time, and then supercharge maybe 5% of the time, meaning I'd really end up paying a little over that home cost of $464. For you, you'll fall somewhere in between there, and it's actually pretty easy to give yourself a ballpark figure by estimating how much you will charge at home versus supercharge. That range of $464 to $780 between home and supercharging may sound like a lot more than you expected, but let's compare it to a similar sized gas vehicle. For a Honda Civic, a much cheaper but efficient and similarly sized vehicle, the average miles per gallon is 32. Since my charge rates that I used are specific to my location, I'll similarly use my gas rates near my location, which come in at $5.70 per gallon as of May 2022. With an efficiency of 32 miles per gallon, I would have used about 270.7 gallons to drive the same 8,663 miles. Multiplying that by my current gas price would mean that I would have to pay $1,543.10 in gas to drive a Honda Civic the same distance today. I saved about $1,078.32 driving a Model 3 and charging at home instead of driving a Honda Civic. Of course, if you live somewhere with cheaper gas, this gas cost would be lower, but the difference would probably end up about the same, since lower gas prices usually also mean lower electricity prices in your area. Also, of course, a Civic is hardly a comparable car, especially in regards to price, but I wanted to give a conservative example instead of showing an insane gas guzzler. I wanted to illustrate that savings for day-to-day are still significant, even in a very fuel-efficient Honda Civic once you own the vehicle. For something like a BMW M4 on the other side of things efficiency-wise, I would have saved another $1,000 in the last year in fuel. The next area that adds to vehicle cost of ownership is maintenance. Typically, a car needs regular oil changes and various other repairs, but electric cars are different here. I've paid for no maintenance on my Model 3 in the past year. I had a Tesla service appointment early on with small things fixed under warranty, but there aren't any oil changes or anything regular like that I need to worry about on this car. Over the course of true vehicle ownership, this will end up saving you a significant amount of money when directly comparing maintenance costs. For a Honda Civic, this means I saved an estimated $368 based on this average. For a BMW M4, I saved a whopping $2,781 this year, according to this estimate. Two fairly extreme examples that show the maintenance savings over the course of ownership by going electric. The only maintenance I'm really expecting coming up on the Model 3 is tires, which are known to go a bit quicker on electric vehicles due to instant torque and the heavier vehicles that they are. Next up is insurance. Tesla insurance is expanding to more states, and their rates are very competitive compared to what many companies charge to insure a Tesla. Currently, I pay about $144 a month to insure my Model 3 with Tesla insurance. My collision deductible is $1,000, and my deductible for other repairs is $100. Overall, from what I can tell, this is fairly reasonable and doesn't really add too much over insuring a similarly sized, cheaper car in the same area. Tesla insurance is now available in Arizona, California, Colorado, Illinois, Ohio, Oregon, Texas, and Virginia. One other cost to keep in mind is DMV registration. While this is normal for all cars, it gets more expensive with pricier cars, so my Model Y renewal was a full $750 to renew this year, and I'm expecting the Model 3 to be $600 or more. One of the biggest categories to talk about still is depreciation. Common sense is that as soon as a vehicle drives off the lot, it loses lots of value. Many recommend buying used for this reason, while others would recommend to never buy a car as expensive as a Tesla, since expensive cars depreciate the most. What we're seeing lately, though, is the opposite story. Some used 2020 Tesla Model Ys sold by Tesla are going for far more than a brand new one, and similar is happening with Model 3s. This is because these cars are available to buy today, and the back order for a Model 3 is so long. Either way though, overall mileage, year, and wear and tear on a car don't affect electric cars in the same way that they do gas cars. Teslas retain their value very well, and Kelley Blue Book currently puts my trade-in value at $50,862 after 1 year and 8,663 miles on this car. That's an immediate profit of around $6,000 after taxes and all fees that I've paid on this car. If that trade-in value holds true and is honored in the real world, I could flip this car after 1 year and profit. That's a really great value that this car is holding, and is definitely not something you see for other vehicles. However, there are many factors there, as Tesla's pricing has gone up, and pricing for cars and used cars in general has been increasing over the past year. I do know people who have been able to profit on their Tesla after owning it and using it significantly for a couple years, so the standard ideas of depreciation and loss of value on a vehicle don't seem to fully apply to Teslas right now. They just really hold their value. Overall, as you can see from my experience with the Model 3, charging at home is the cheapest option, aside from a free charger if you have one. You can save a significant amount of money over gas, but the entry price of a Model 3 is so high right now that it really will only save you overall clearly when comparing to a similarly priced car. If you're choosing between the Model 3 and another non-electric car at $47,000, you'll see significant savings immediately. You'll save on gas, no oil changes, hardly any maintenance, and your value will hold up incredibly well into the future as far as we can tell. If you're in that price range already, it really can save you quite a bit of money. If you're shopping for a car in general though, and simply looking for the cheapest option, the Model 3's entry cost remains expensive, and it's tough to make up around $20,000 with gas and maintenance when compared to something like a $25,000 Honda Civic. Maybe it would even out after many more years than I'm calculating though. This is something that many companies, and especially Tesla, plan to change down the road with much cheaper electric offerings planned, but it's taking a while to get there. For the future with my Model 3, there are some costs I'm expecting that I didn't have yet. For one, each year I'll have that DMV renewal. Then there are some replacements I'll need, like air filters, which Tesla sells for $17 each or $34 for the required set of 2. Third-party filters are available here too, with a HEPA filter improvement, and those can be anywhere from $50 to $100. Then eventually the warranty will run out. The basic vehicle limited warranty covers the Model 3 for 4 years or 50,000 miles. Based on our mileage with this car, that 4 years might come first, so we still have some time. Luckily though, on top of this, the battery and drive unit warranty is much longer at 8 years or 100,000 miles. I hope this video was helpful for you, and in the meantime, if you want to see my process of buying a used, cheap Model 3, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.